Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Useless Aggression podcast. I am James, and joining me is the unfortunate
The
champion of the
reigning,
podcast.
defending, undisputed podcast general, your boy, Henry. How's it going?
Yeah, I've
How's it
seen you've
going?
been calling yourself the podcast general in your name today. A bit of Walter inspiration there.
Hey, well, it's a great. I told you it was a great match. That Imperium Undisputed Era one, fantastic match.
Yeah, it's a very good match.
Me and my mate have quite obsessed with this theme recently, and then we found a video of the theme being played live by some composer in front of the Pope. We're just having this image of just Walter coming out and having a fight with the Pope. It would be amazing. um, but we digress. Of course, it is WrestleMania week, and it's a bit of a weird WrestleMania. Normally, I mean, I'm still really excited for it because there's a big air of uncertainty. But normally, the build up is better. It's not for any fault of the companies, but I don't know. I mean, I'm still excited for it. It is still WrestleMania, and it's over 2 nights, which means I'm not gonna be up till 5 in the morning watching it. But, yeah, I mean, how are you feeling? How are you feeling for this WrestleMania?
I feel gutted because I think looking at the card, it's actually really stacked, and I would love to see this in a traditional setting. I'd love to see it with a crowd. I'm not against the whole 2 nights thing, even if there was a crowd. I think that is better in terms of breaking it up because supposedly it's going to be what, like 3 hours roughly each night and an hour pre-show on both. So I can live with that. That makes it a bit better. As you said, you won't be shattered by the end. Um, it, yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be strange, and we've kind of just got to get on board with that, I think. But uh, the uncertainty really makes these predictions quite interesting because they could really go on a different tangent here because of the fact there's no crowd, and who knows also if they'll have to go on a hiatus or not. I know they filmed the Raws and Smackdowns after Mania, but I don't know if they're going to have to take a break after that for a while. So it'll be interesting because that means they could theoretically completely swerve what the results were going to be and bring them back as rematches when they have a crowd.
Yeah, I've definitely had this same issue. Like, there's a couple of ones where before it was obviously kind of canned and you read rumors and stuff, I was sat there like, oh, so and so is going to win this one, so and so is going to win this one and stuff. But without a crowd, there are certain matches now that you look at without a crowd. Like, for example, Edge coming back would be brilliant with a crowd. It's still going to be great because it's Edge, but like without that sort of element of the pop he would have got when he came out, and like the Otis Ziggler match as well. I mean, that feud is entirely built around the crowd being bought into it. So then having those two having a match without anyone there is a bit weird, and it makes me. I think the other one that's quite difficult to predict because of it is the. I think the SmackDown Women's title is quite hard to predict now because of that. Um, and of course the big one being no Roman Reigns as well.
No, Roman Reigns is a big one. I really don't know how we're going to predict that because I really have no idea what way the company are going to go. Obviously, a lot of it will come down to Goldberg's contract situation. Do they
That's the
really want to
problem.
give Braun
Yeah,
Strowman? I mean, in one way, it's perfect because you could give him the title quite cheaply and easily and get away from all the criticism that you've never done it. But equally, um, you've got. Do you really want to give him his first title in an empty arena?
the other thing you've got with it as well is WWE are now going to be sat there basically thinking we've just destroyed the legitimacy of the Fiend for essentially nothing now, unless depending what happens with it, because obviously we don't know how long this could we could have SummerSlam behind closed doors or not at all. The way it's going, like, is Goldberg going to hang around for that long just for the sake of giving a payoff for Reigns or what really? But we are digressing a little bit. We've got a lot of matches to go through, and of course, the title is on the line. First defense for the podcast general. Um, but yeah, should we just get straight into it?
Yeah, I mean, before we do get into it, one thing I want to explain is obviously our lock-in rule. So this is something that I brought in while I was the champion when we came back as the Useless Aggression podcast, and it it actually ended up costing me the title, unfortunately. Um, but the gist of the rule is if we feel confident enough about a result, we can lock it in ourselves, meaning the other person is forced to go with a different option. However, if that result doesn't come in, the other person gets 2 points.
Yeah, it's good. It did, in fact, with one Sami Zayn against Braun Strowman, it cost James the title.
Yeah, that one was really annoying because I remember we deliberately made a rule where we couldn't lock in Shayna Baszler because it was so obvious that she was going to win. So we then both went to try and lock in the Street Profits, but you got in there before me, which then forced
Hells
me to
yeah.
lock in something else. And I really thought Strowman was a guarantee for that. For that, and
I mean, to be fair, so did I. I really thought it was going to come down to the wild card, but I was a surprise. I was obviously a pleasant surprise, surprise nonetheless. um, but right, so we kick off with the first match. Again, we've already alluded to this one with the lack of crowd hurting it a little bit. But Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, presumably with Mandy Rose by his side. Who do you have for this one and why?
well, I was going to let the champion go first, but if you're willing to, hand it over to me, then that's fine. I've got my pick.
Okay, who you going for? Who you going for? Of course, I'm a fighting champ, James. I'm a fighting champ.
For me, it's got to be Otis in this match. Um, I'm expecting that Mandy Rose will end up turning on Dolph in the match. Like maybe he'll be being cocky, or have Otis be he's holding him in submissions for too long, etc. And then yeah, like Mandy will end up like slapping Dolph or something after begging him to stop, and then that will lead to the end. But I've got Otis down for this as a win.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like one thing that is quite common in WrestleManias is you always have storylines like this, and the good guy finally gets their moment. I totally agree. I think there'll be some play of Mandy Rose will do something like Ziggler will just be being a dick, or like Otis, or maybe happening to Otis, and she'll step in and make it. She'll impact the end of the match for sure. So it's just a shame, really, because there is no obvious, like, there's no crowd. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see something to do with like Robert Roode come down and maybe Tucker gets involved as well. But yeah, it's got to be Otis. I feel like this match wouldn't be on the card if it wasn't for that, and it's not really a feud you're going to drag out for too much longer.
No, yeah, this is a short term thing, and I agree. I think Otis uh, will win, and yeah, I do imagine we'll have Rude and Tucker making an appearance. It just seems awkward if they don't. Maybe like if they were going to carry on the program as normal, they'd probably end up having a tag match at Backlash or something like that, or Extreme Rules, whatever comes next. But yeah, that is the that's well, we've got the same prediction there. Okay, so the next match is a bit of a difficult one to call, to be honest. Elias versus King Corbin.
I totally agree. It's actually quite hard. I'm going to go with Elias for this one. I think reason being, I would have said King Corbin all the time. Because actually, I mean, realistically, apart from The Fiend, he's like the only real high profile heel you've got on SmackDown now. And I actually really like him. I think he's a really good heel. However, I think for a number of reasons, Elias will win. There was that weird thing on SmackDown, which was essentially like the Lion King, where he just like knocked him off that scaffolding, and it'll be this whole like Elias is injured and he might not be able to compete. But also on top of that one, I think because he set up the match, Gronkowski is going to get involved, and regrettably, probably Mojo Rawley as well. They'll probably get involved in some way and help Elias win it. I think it's done the classic WWE thing, I think, where they've gone so one-sided in the build-up to it that it's always going to be like, surprise, the guy who hasn't been one-up the whole time will win. So yeah, I think Elias. I think Elias over this one, which is a shame because King Corbin, I think, could use the win. He's kind of been shat on by Roman Reigns for the last like 4 months of his career, so I think he could have done with the win. But it's Elias for me.
I'm really unsure because I agree with everything you've said, and I think the Rob Gronkowski. If it wasn't for the Rob Gronkowski like asking for the match, I would probably have gone with Corbin. Because as you said, I think realistically on SmackDown you've only got the Fiend as another top heel, and you need, the Fiend is he's not part time as such, but do you know what I mean? He's not there all the time. He's not as a consistent an element. So Corbin is carrying all that workload, and I think for him to lose to Elias is going to be really difficult then for him to be taken seriously in his future feuds. So I would have backed Corbin, but the Gronkowski element is really interesting.
Everyone knows if you're a guest host at WrestleMania, and if you're a celebrity as well, you're instantly indestructible at a wrestling ring. So I think, yeah, I totally I want Corbin to win. I just think Elias will win.
Do you know what? I'm going with Corbin to win.
Oh, the first match two. We've got the first different one. Do you know what, I hope Corbin wins for the sake of the product, but for the sake of these predictions, I'm thinking Elias.
I'm going to go Corbin wins, and then after the match, Gronkowski gets involved with Corbin, and that sets up a program for down the line.
Yeah, no, I can also see that. To be fair, um, but no. So that takes us on to our next match, the match where I don't know why this match exists at all, but it is, and we just have to live with it. Is Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. So who do you have for this one and why?
I have Aleister Black, and that's all I'm really willing to talk about as
Yeah.
far as this match is concerned.
This
It's such a piece of shit that it's on the card. It doesn't make any sense. Aleister Black it seems like he's gearing towards a bit of a push. He's been recently involved with AJ Styles and whatnot, so he's on the upward trajectory. Bobby Lashley is a nothing, so he's just staying stagnant. Maybe Rusev turns up as well. I know he's recently shaved his head and he's been on social media a bit, so yeah. But Aleister Black, that's all that I'm really willing to talk about as far as this match is concerned.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's always one match in WrestleMania cards which is a bit of a squash match. I think this will be somewhat that match. I can't see it being very long. Aleister Black will hit a black
Yeah,
mass. Done.
I think it will either be an absolute squash and it will just be a black, like the bell will go, Rusev's music hits, Black Mass, it's over, or they'll get like 6 minutes, maybe eight tops, but not a lot. Um, right, moving very swiftly on to matches that actually matter. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins.
See, this one's an interesting one because there's there's good arguments for why both people should win. Um, but I was reading something quite interesting actually after the last Raw, the go home episode of Raw, which was pretty much just promos. Um, but so Seth Rollins makes that really good point with Kevin Owens about him on the big stage and all this stuff, where he's just always like buckles under, not like buckles under the pressure, but he's not very good when it matters on pay-per-views and whatnot. Um, and obviously Seth Rollins is the Monday Night Messiah, and I think in a way that's kind of alluding more to a Kevin Owens win. Because I think if Kevin Owens loses after Seth Rollins points out all these failures and stuff, it kind of just proves Seth Rollins right, and therefore kind of doesn't ruin the legitimacy of Kevin Owens per se, but like it kind of just means like, oh, this guy was right the whole time and Kevin Owens lost. Cool, let's move on. But I think also the way they've been building to it, I think so obviously now Seth Rollins hasn't got any. There's no Murphy because he's apparently really unwell. Obviously AOP, one of them is injured, and you're not going to have the other one just turn up by himself. So I think there's no outside influence either. I think I see Kevin Owens winning it. I think he should win for that because I think if he wins, they can carry on the feud a bit more as well. So yeah, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens for those reasons. And Seth Rollins doesn't need the win. I think Kevin Owens does.
Yeah, I've gone Kevin Owens here for basically the same reason. I think right now Kevin Owens is one of the top faces on Raw, if not the top face. I know McIntyre is technically a face, but because his feud it has been with Brock Lesnar and he's part time, KO has had to consistently be holding down Raw, and I just think, yeah, he hasn't won at WrestleMania, whereas Seth Rollins has won loads. This loss to Seth Rollins won't ruin anything. He'll probably end up being the person that feuds with McIntyre next for the Universal title or the WWE title. That's what they've got now, isn't it? They've swapped them
Yeah.
over. But yeah, I don't see that being an issue for him. Whereas, yeah, if Kevin Owens loses, it's just difficult for him to then, because his next feud as a face, he's going to come out and be doing all this stuff, and you'll be like, well, who are you? You're the guy that just keeps losing at the end of the day. Similar to Bray Wyatt and what happened to him back before when he kept losing every feud. So Kevin Owens needs the win more. Um, I think they'll have a good match. I think even if there was the aspect of outside interference, Kevin Owens would still win. But as you've said, I've heard so Murphy was ill, and one of AOP is out for 7 months, and
Is it that
apparently they're not
long?
going to
Wow.
use. Yeah, they're not going to use the other one while that happens, so they're both off now for 7 months. So um, yeah, it's a bit. I think Kevin Owens wins this one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Interestingly, we just mentioned this man in the next match, but
Yeah, bring us on to
John Cena versus Bray Wyatt or the Fiend, to be more precise.
in a Firefly Funhouse match as well. I think there has to be the Fiends. I mean, I love John Cena. There is no secret there. But I think the way they've done it is this whole. I think they've done it quite well with the whole John Cena beat him at WrestleMania 30, and then that started the because it's not necessarily wrong. Started the decline of Bray Wyatt as a character and a legitimate threat and whatnot. I mean, granted, he went on to go and face The Undertaker and sort of low key had a match with The Rock, wasn't a match. But equally, that was kind of the end of his legitimacy is when Cena beat him. So I think the Fiend, especially after the Goldberg loss, needs the win. And obviously it's in a Firefly Funhouse match, which as long as it's better than that House of Horrors match with Randy Orton, I don't mind. But I think also Cena as well. I think he's very aware he doesn't need to win. So and I think he'd put over the Fiend if he could. So I think the Fiend for this one. It should be a weird match. I'm quite looking forward to it because there's one thing that John Cena does quite well is overselling. So I think overselling in terms of acting. I think this could be a very interesting match, if not just absolutely hilarious. But one or the other, it should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think the Fiend wins this. It'd be weird to have a whole feud set up about how, oh, when I was Bray Wyatt, you beat me at WrestleMania and that ruined my career and you buried me. And then he loses to him again. It just seems a bit strange. I think it, it has to be the Fiend. There's no way it's going to be Cena. Um, do I want to lock this in?
I do. Yeah, my thing is for this one is the only thing that slightly annoys me about this is these two could have a match in a ring and it would be fine. It would be really, really good. I don't think it needed a gimmick this match, and the gimmick may hurt it. That's the only
I think
thing.
the I think the gimmick though is because of the whole coronavirus,
Yeah,
and they wanted to do some matches elsewhere to make it a bit interesting and break up the empty stadium. I would lock this in, but I'm not going to, only because I want. Yeah, I don't think I don't understand the stipulation.
it's Big Match John as well. At the end of the day, if anyone is gonna do it, it's Big Match John or Goldberg, but mostly Big Match John.
I don't understand what the stipulation is. It could be one where there's no. It could be there's no winner as such. You could just be that you just have to beat each other up. So I'm going to leave it. But yeah, I'm Bray. Well, the Fiend. Sorry, is my prediction for this match.
So here, it's seen those T's a lock in there. That takes us on to another a match that is actually pretty intriguing. It's another weird gimmick match per se, but the Undertaker, who could be the American Badass Undertaker based on his promo at Raw, versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. Um, I don't know for this one. I actually don't. I'm gonna say the Undertaker just because, I mean, you made a point in a previous episode, which if you haven't listened to, you should go and listen to, um, where it's kind of implied it's a buried alive match of sorts. And it could be like AJ Styles buries The Undertaker for him to then emerge from the grave as like one last time or whatever. But I think they've kind of the way they've sort of done this feud, they've kind of just done they've dropped the whole names thing. So obviously like AJ Styles called Undertaker Mark Calloway, and then on Raw just gone, Undertaker calls him is it Alan Jones, is it his real name? He calls him Alan Jones. There's that whole thing where he's basically resorting to his American badass thing again, saying like "Try me, I'll make you famous" and stuff like that. And there's the whole classic, he's brought the wife into it. Um, so I think for a number of those reasons, and also it is ultimately The Undertaker. And also AJ Styles doesn't need the win. I'm not saying The Undertaker needs the win, but like I think AJ Styles is just going to be another notch on Undertaker's WrestleMania wins before eventually going off to Survivor Series, where it'll probably be his last match, I reckon anyway. But yeah, I think Undertaker to win this one.
I also have Undertaker to win it for the same reasons that you've just listed. Until Raw, I was very much, I was probably like 55% leaning towards AJ Styles. But then, as you said, like I'd read reports that Undertaker might be having one last run as a different sort of character. And I think this is it. I think on Raw you saw it's the weird hybrid of the Dead Man and the American Badass. Yeah, because he said the lines, but then he also said like "Rest in peace." He's wearing just like a beanie and a biker jacket, but the Undertaker's like Dead Man music played at the end. So it's a bit of a weird one. But yeah, I ultimately think I don't think Gallows and Anderson being involved will make a difference because he's completely just dismissed them all this feud. Like he's dealt with them easily enough. Um,
Even
AJ
said
is
to
so
bring
good
them
he
along,
can
like, yeah.
yeah AJ's so good he can sell anything, and he'll make it look good whatever happens. And I just think, especially, I know the Undertaker can now lose at WrestleMania. That doesn't mean he should keep losing at WrestleManias. And obviously he had Lesnar, then he had what Bray Wyatt, then he lost to Roman Reigns, and it's like okay, then he's had that little quick one against Cena. For him to lose again against AJ Styles, it becomes like he's going to have more of a losing record in recent manias than winning records. So
I think as well, I read a really good point as well, is if you saw the two people he lost to, now whether or not you agree with the streak ending at all, let alone to Brock Lesnar, what it did for Brock Lesnar's career and where he is now. I mean, if you look at it since then, Brock Lesnar's been in a title match in what every WrestleMania since, I think. Yeah, he has. Every WrestleMania since Brock Lesnar's been in a title match. He destroyed John Cena, he destroyed Reigns multiple times, destroyed Goldberg eventually. And like what it did for Brock Lesnar's career is huge. And obviously Reigns being the other one to beat him was supposed to be the same effect, which obviously hasn't happened. But in a way you could argue they didn't need to beat him when they beat him, but like the WWE needed them to beat him. Meanwhile, they don't need AJ Styles to beat him. Like AJ Styles is a star anyway. He doesn't need to be elevated. Like he could lose this match and then go straight into a world title feud and no one would care.
yeah, that's it. I think he's my other person. I think after this, it will either be Seth Rollins or him that feuds with McIntyre. Um, I don't see it changing at all. As you said, like if he loses to Undertaker, he still comes out of it spotless. So yeah, for me, Undertaker wins this. Um, the next match, this is interesting to me. I think because of the empty arena, things might change.
I totally agree, which is but I'm also not too sure. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's Edge versus Randy Orton in a last man standing match. So who are you backing here and why?
So I think if this was a full arena, if this was in Tampa, Raymond James Stadium, whatever it's called, the Pirate Ship Stadium, there's no doubt it would be Edge because it's his first match back, and obviously it has to be the moment. But I also think because obviously Edge has signed on for like a three month, 3 year, 3 month, 3 year contract. And I think the way they've done this build up to this feud, which has been excellent, by the way, like Randy Orton deserves a medal or something. He has been unbelievable in the build up to this match. I think the way they've done it, it can't just be a one and done match. So I think someone made a really good prediction. I read it on, I think it was Bleacher Report or somewhere like that, and I can totally see it happening. Is they'll both like do something and then be down. It'll get to like 8 or 9, and then Randy Orton will just get up at the last moment, and then it'll get to 10 for Edge, and he'll lose. And I think for that reason, I think Randy Orton's going to win this one. I think it with no crowd. I think they can win it, and then they can save Edge winning for the moment there is a crowd. Because it'll be Edge's first match back, it'd be really emotional. If no one was there and he wins, it's just gonna be like, "Yay, Edge won." And everyone will just carry on, and that'll be it now. Meanwhile, I think it's such a big moment, Edge coming back to wrestling and then to win, it has to be in front of a big crowd. Like it has to be like a SummerSlam or I mean whatever the next big one. I mean technically Money in the Bank's class the big one now, but whichever one they have in front of a big crowd. And I think he can lose by like some shithousery like that. Like they'll take each other out and then Randy or like something will fall on Edge or something like that, and he wasn't ever truly beaten. Or like whenever Miz and Shane McMahon, for example, where like Miz slams him off the top, but Shane McMahon just falls on him and then he wins as a result, or something like that. And I think Randy Orton will win via some kind of like it would be in a way that makes people really pissed off, and also Edge really pissed off, and they carry on the feud. I'm going Randy Orton for this one. Randall Keith to win it one for me.
I yeah, I don't know. This is a feud where you don't want it to be one and done, and you want this to carry on for a while because it's so good. And it, I mean, Edge even said it in his promo. He was saying like, Randy Orton, people are saying this is the best you've ever been. They're very open about the fact that this is the best Orton we've seen in years. There's a part of me that would love to see Orton win it. One aspect I potentially considered is, I'm not overly sure, because I wonder as well if Beth Phoenix is involved somehow in this match. And one thing I thought of that could happen is almost like Orton has her with the chairs, like her lying on a chair, and he's ready to concerto her, and he like makes Edge lay down to stop him from doing the concerto to her or something.
Yeah, I think there'll be some like heel shithousery in there that will do it. I think, or Beth something will happen with Beth Phoenix, and then she'll be about to get like hurt, as you said, yeah, and Edge will be like, no, and then dive in the way, and then get hit with something instead. It's gonna be something good. I reckon this could be the match of the night, or whatever night it's on.
I'm gonna back Edge
Oh, fair.
because if I'm gonna take the title off you, I need to go against you on some matches, and this one I would like it to be Orton, but I can see it being Edge, and therefore I'm going to take the gamble here and
I
go.
think there's a lot of there's definitely really good arguments for both people in this match. Like Edge makes sense. Like, but at the same time, I think this is one of the matches that's been affected by the coronavirus, no crowd, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing is Edge's contract is still only for maybe I think it's 3 matches a year, and I don't know if they'll want to wait so long for him to get his win in front of a crowd. Maybe they have him win, then he can lose his next one and then have a win in front of a crowd or something. But yeah, for me, Edge is going to win this one.
Which takes us on to our next match, the Intercontinental title. You've got Sami Zayn, presumably with Nakamura and Cesaro in some capacity, versus Daniel Bryan, presumably with Drew Gulak in some capacity. Who have you got?
I have got Sami Zayn.
Agreed, agreed.
Ah, okay. I was wondering. I thought you might go Brian.
Nah, it's
Yeah,
insane.
for me, this match will definitely end with. I can imagine it like Nakamura and Cesaro will try and get involved. Gulak will fight them off. Then he'll quickly turn around, turn on Brian, and allow Sami Zayn to pick up the win. And that way, Gulak and Brian enter into another program of each other, but like as an actual proper feud this time, which would be good as well for SmackDown to have like a nice mid card feud going on. And Sami Zayn keeps the belt because he's obviously only just won it. It's his first one. He needs a bit more time, and also he is brilliant at the minute. Like heel Zayn is working really well. He's brilliant on the mic. It's good to see him having matches again. I think this could be an absolute. I think this could be a match of the night, though.
I totally agree. I actually think, frustratingly, if there was no sort of like gimmicky outside interference and stuff, and it was these two in just a straight up match, it would definitely be match of the night, I think. I mean, it could still be with the outside interference and stuff, but yeah, I totally think Drew Gulak is going to factor into the outcome of this match. Like, I don't think there's any discussion there. It surely ends with that. I think I don't know how much Nakamura and Cesaro will have into it, but I think the only thing that worries me about this match is, like they did with the Braun Strowman one, I can see them kind of having some way of Sami Zayn winning it without actually doing that much, because that also continues the whole like opportunistic cowardly heel thing where he just sort of turns up and then gets the win. Where actually, if he was just to wrestle him in a normal match, this would be spectacular. I mean, I'm hoping that is what it is, but I totally agree. This could be match of the night in terms of just like two people who are just technically superb at wrestling and really good at in-ring storytelling having a match. But yeah, Drew Gulak definitely has to turn on Bryan. It just makes sense. And as you said as well, Sami Zayn's only just won it, so it's got to be him. I think it's Sami Zayn. It makes sense. So I think he should have a good run with it actually, and then maybe
Yeah, I
have
hope
one
he
of
does.
what I actually think would be quite nice is I hope he has a really good long run with it, and then one of probably Cesaro. If we listen to another episode of someone who should have had a title, maybe turns on Sami Zayn down the line and then challenges him for the title and he wins it maybe. And that kind of begins the start of Cesaro or something like that. But I think he needs like a longish push as because he could become like the really frustrating heel that just holds on to a title forever through really like dickish means and that the fans sort of love to hate. And I think they could have a really good chance of doing that because they haven't had that many heels for a long time, especially in like a position of a title where everyone just like hates them but equally loves them because they are just that good at being a dick.
Yeah, I'd say probably the last heel champion that everyone loved though was probably Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho when they were the Intercontinental and the World Champion. Or was it US and World Champion? Sorry, but
US and World, yeah. That was it. That was 3 years ago,
that they
maybe.
were amazing as
Yeah.
heels. But yeah, no, I completely. I think Sami Zayn will get this, and I can see Gulak and Bryan entering into a feud themselves. So the next match is a weird one. So firstly, it was came out of nowhere, and they just announced that it's going to be the Street Profits versus Garza and Andrade, which is just weird and yeah, no idea why they decided to book that match. Then Andrade got injured, and so he's been replaced with Austin Theory. So I'm interested. Yeah, who have you got for here and why?
So actually, I've been umming and ahhing about this one, because everyone knows WWE love, for the sake of just the sake, putting titles on swerve matches. Everyone knows of like Zack Ryder for he literally lost it the next night and stuff like that. However, I think for this one, I'm going to go with the Street Profits. Um, I'm tempted to lock in on the Street Profits as well, just to continue the trend of the Street Profits getting it for me. Um, uh,
Well, I'm going in quickly to say that I
no,
am going
I'm
to
gonna do it.
lock in the Street
I'm looking
Profits.
I'm looking at the Street Profits.
I
It was
said
my
it.
choice. It was my choice. Right, fine. Because I'm the fighting champion, I'll let you have this one. But
I'm locking in the Street Profits.
for
Finally,
fuck's
I should have
sake.
locked them in at the last event, but you got in before me. So now I'm getting in before you. I'm locking in the Street Profits. You have to have Theory and Gaza.
Well, I will say this. What's the harm in them winning it for a shock? Selena Vega could get involved, do some Selena Vega stuff. I mean, I can't see it happening. I'm really not going to lie to you. I think it's definitely going to be the Street Profits. But I have to now back the Austin Theory horse, and
What
Austin
you asked
Theory
what
is
the harm is, and the harm is the harm it would do to the Street Profits. They've only just won the titles. They can't lose them to a random team. They're going to keep them. They need to lose to a legitimate tag team, and
But could you not see them maybe something with Selena Vega? I'm just trying to spitball here ideas.
no, I can't see it.
Maybe the one member of the AOP that isn't injured will turn up and I don't know, get the Street Profits disqualified somehow or something like that. I don't know.
Sorry, no, I
Actually, I
don't
tell
see
you,
it.
Austin Theory is actually the face of the company, and he's gonna do it himself. Um, but fine, it's fine. Actually, I know who I'm gonna. I know. They actually were originally. I wasn't gonna lock in on them. I was gonna lock in on someone else. But now we must wait for that person. So,
Indeed, and
or
it's still
persons.
my pick first in the next match. Technically, just putting it out there. So
It is. So the women's five-way elimination match, it's worth stressing because it wasn't an elimination match when it was a six-pack challenge. Is Bailey versus Lacey Evans versus Naomi versus Sasha Banks versus Tamina. And this is actually quite a hard one for me. Uh, again, for the long-term coronavirus effect. But who do you have for this one?
I mean, it's between two. Let's be honest.
See,
Tamina
I
is one
think
of the
it's between three.
worst. No, so for me, Tamina is one of the worst female wrestlers. In fact, she's one of the worst wrestlers uh, in not only WWE today, but of the last several years. She's fucking useless.
Yeah, she's definitely getting eliminated first. Like, there's no way.
Yeah,
There's no dispute.
Lacey Evans is okay, but Lacey Evans just seems to be the person that just keep popping in title matches for the sake of it, but she's not winning.
It's because it's that ex-military thing that Vince loves as well, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, Naomi, I don't see winning. I know she's recently come back, but no, if Naomi was going to win, it would have been a one-on-one match. This match has been made to tell the story between Sasha Banks and Bailey, and I think I really don't know. I think Bailey wins.
yeah, I think Bailey because again, 'cause it's an elimination. I think what will happen is I see a lot of funny enough, a lot of people can see Naomi winning because Sasha Banks and Bailey is a feud that doesn't need a title, and also it's a feud which needs a crowd. So if you put the title on Naomi, you've got someone that the crowd actually quite like as the champion. She can go off and do her own thing with whoever, like Lacey Evans and stuff. And then when you can go back to a period of time when you have a crowd, you can have Sasha Banks and Bailey. And also, there's a way you could have her winning, which involves Sasha Banks and Bailey costing each other the title. But I think Bailey will win because what will happen is obviously she's a kind of only just turned heel as well. Well, not only just, but she's still relatively fresh in the heel game. So if those two are going to have a feud, Sasha Banks would have to be the face. And I think in a match like this, there's no way Sasha Banks can win it without screwing over Bailey, which would be seen as quite heelish. So I think Bailey will win. There'll be something to do with like Naomi will be like it'll be like those three left. Sasha Banks will like eliminate Naomi and then Bailey will like roll her up to win it or something rubbish like that. Some kind of classic heel win where you can like screw over your mate. It'll be something like that. But the other thing I can also see is Sasha Banks doing that to Bailey and then Naomi hitting her the finisher to win it as well. And then Sasha Banks will be like, "You cost my chance and you took yourself out of it as well." But I think Bailey holds on here.
Yeah, I think she holds on. I think if one of them, I think they're going to have to obviously come against each other in some capacity.
That was apparently what they wanted for this one. They wanted those two at WrestleMania, but then they decided on it too late didn't think it would get the build it deserved, and then also now with no crowd as well, they were like it's a feud that the crowd wanted, so it'd be a bit weird if we decided to randomly do it at a time when there was no crowd.
Yeah, but they also just should have just put this in Elimination Chamber and had this happen at Elimination Chamber, which would have allowed the build. But yeah, I would say it, ultimately, I think Bailey's going to be the one who stays as the heel. Um, Sasha Banks will go face, which is unfortunate because she's shit as a face. But and you can see that happening by Bailey betraying Sasha Banks in this match somewhat and staying as the heel. So yeah, I think Bailey sees it through. Um, the next match, we came to a decision. We spoke about this beforehand, and we're not going to do a prediction on. The one we're talking about is the SmackDown Tag Titles, but there is a there's some weirdness around this one.
Well, yeah, we don't really know what's going on, so it's hard to predict on because so you've read rumors that the rumor that's going around, or say the rumor, the actual genuine story that's going around is the Miz was not in this match because he's went off ill. Which is also what apparently led to Roman Reigns eventually deciding to go as well.
Yeah, I heard he turned up to work but was ill, and then the Usos and Roman Reigns are absolutely kicked off and like threw off the handle at it.
Yeah, apparently that's what I heard as well. And then Reigns, understandably, just walked out. But I think for me, the other thing as well is I read somewhere, and I've read it in a few places now as well. They were going to have I don't know why they'd ever thought this would be a good idea if it does happen, but a ladder match with just John Morrison versus one of the Usos for the tag titles. I've also read they were going to do the same match, but John Morrison's by himself. And we just don't. And obviously, it would be different ways to predict who was going to win. It'd be quite difficult.
yeah, we've read conflicting reports because we've tried to get as accurate a card as possible, but yeah, some of them are saying it's still going to be a three-way ladder match, but John Morrison's by himself. Some of them are saying it's now just John Morrison, yeah, versus one of the Usos. And we figured Sod's Law is going to be whatever we make the prediction based on. It's not then going to be that option. So the safest thing for us to do is just not predict this match. On the just because I figured in this that I thought Miz and Morrison would retain if the match went ahead as normal, and I think it's a shame as well because I think again with a crowd, I love triangle ladder matches. It'll be so similar to like the old TLC matches. This would have been a perfect match. I really would have liked to have seen this in its full capacity, but alas, it wasn't to be. Which means your first pick actually comes in a different tag title match. So this is the Kabuki Warriors versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
So this is quite a weird one for me in a way because I think obviously, let's be honest with you, they've kind of forgotten that they've just had the women's tag team division. I think they've just awkwardly forgotten it is a thing. Um, but I don't know. I actually don't know how this one's going to go because I think it's such a stale division that maybe a title change is needed. And on top of that, they have as well the thing where obviously Asuka's wrist is I don't know if it's still recovered or not, but Asuka's wrist was kind of injured. And also I think Kairi Sanes has recently got married. So maybe need some time off. But equally I don't think it's a title. I don't think Alexa. Obviously, they won the titles off Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross as well, and they'll make the argument that Alexa Bliss just beat Asuka on SmackDown. But equally, I can't see the titles changing hands here, just because I think Asuka is not. Asuka needs to be in some kind of title picture. I think she's too good to not be, and then she's not going to be in the Raw or SmackDown one still for a while, I don't think. So I'm going to go with the Kabuki Warriors to retain here, I think.
Did they win the titles off Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
I thought they just. I can't remember to be honest. I've kind of
That's
lost
what I
track when
mean.
I've had
Yeah.
it on. I mean, let's
Uh,
look back at. Have you got? Are you loading it up?
I'm googling now. One titles off of. Uh, it was Hell in a Cell, and they won it off of. Yeah, they won it. They run it. Yeah, they beat them at Hell in a Cell in October to win the title.
I mean, it's a weird one because yeah, I obviously the other thing that hasn't helped with this feud is Kyrie Sane's not been on TV for a while. She did fly back to the States for Mania, but I, the main thing is I just don't care. I don't
Yeah, like
care
it's
enough that I could really form a educated opinion, and that's a shame because in this match are uh like Alexa Bliss is one of my favorite women ever. Um, I think Asuka is fantastic. I think Kairi Sane is fantastic. I think Nikki Cross is all right. It's such a shame that, like, I'd rather see these four be involved in. I think you can remove Lacey Evans and Tamina from that match. You could put and two of these four in that match, and it makes more sense. So it's a shame that they're involved in this match, which is kind of meaningless. Do you know what? Just for the sake of competition, I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
that's fair. That's fair. I can see them winning because it will be a way to be like, hey, we have a women's tag team division, remember? And we've now got some
And
new
we've got the
champions.
first
Yeah,
two-time champions and stuff. Yeah, and I just think it the way the story's been built, then they had to beat Asuka to earn the title match and all this stuff. Like I'm going to lean more towards them, and I guess Yeah, I just think it adds. At some point, we know there's going to be a storyline where Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross will end up feuding, and like Alexa will turn on Nikki, and it might work well if they're doing it while they're champions. So yeah, I'm going to go with those guys. But I mean, Christ, I cannot. This is such a random match. If I was cutting matches from the card, obviously the first one to go would be the Bobby Lashley, Aleister Black one, then probably the Raw tag team titles, and then this. So yeah, this is just a weird decision.
Okay, so the next one is for the Raw Women's Championship with Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, and oh, it's me going first, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Oh, in which case Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, I think the only way I can see Becky Lynch winning this is by disqualification, but I think Shayna Baszler as well. I think Ronda Rousey will get involved in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I don't think she'll get involved as such, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ronda Rousey just like emerges on the ramp or something, and then because they want to either to set up a feud with Shayna Baszler or to cost Becky Lynch. 'Cause obviously, it was a year since she won the titles.
Yeah, and she was spotted in the performance center, wasn't she? So
So I wouldn't be surprised if Ronda Rousey has. They can save a little bit of face with Becky Lynch then as well. If you go like, oh, she only lost because uh, Ronda Rousey turned up and stuff. But
I think Becky needs this because it's it's the same thing. It goes stale. She's beaten everyone. She's had the belt for the year, but she's beaten absolutely everyone. There is no one believably on Raw that can beat her. Um, and then Baszler's come in, absolutely amazing. She's on a hot streak. Don't get me wrong, we've seen someone come up from NXT before on an absolute hot streak, head to WrestleMania after winning the Royal Rumble, and oh, actually, she didn't win the Royal Rumble, did she? But yeah, in this example, they won the Royal Rumble and then went up against one of the, you know, WWE's main women and lose,
dude,
and that's what happened to Asuka.
Asuka won the Royal Rumble. Yeah, she won. She won the
No, I
first
mean,
one.
I mean Shayna Baszler didn't win the Royal
Oh
Rumble
right,
this
yeah,
time
yeah.
though,
All right,
but
yeah.
yeah, like, and this could be the exact same thing. They've done it before. They could have Shayna come up on a really hot streak and then lose,
And it's
because
the shock. It's the
Vince has
swerve
booked it that way.
factor they love.
But I just don't. I've read reports though that Vince isn't that hot on Shayna.
Yeah, I think he's. I think he again because it's filling of NXT. He doesn't think people know her that well. Even though she was NXT Women's Champion forever, like she was so. Is she the longest reigning one, or is it a Paige? I don't know who it is
I
actually.
think she's the longest reigning.
Oh, she's the two-time. She's two-time. I know that much. I think she's the only two-time one.
Maybe
Uh,
she's the longest reigning in total. But yeah, I just think she's on a hot streak. I think obviously Paul Heyman is doing things on Raw, and that helps her case. I think Becky Lynch needs to drop the belt because otherwise you're almost going to have a Super Cena, but it will be Super Lynch. And the loss to Shayna will just completely derail her. And she'll end up being like a Samoa Joe esque character, who was someone who should have probably just come in and won a title straight away, but didn't. So yeah, I'm backing Baszler here.
yeah, no, that's fair. I think I totally agree. Which is on to another women's title match, which is my first pick for this one, is the NXT Women's Champ. Also, it's just NXT Championship now. Sorry, I take it back. It's Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Now, I'm going for Ripley in this one more because I really want her to win. But there's there's things I spoke to you earlier about it. There's a lot of things I've read that suggest it may go the other way, in that Vince is still not convinced NXT is the same level as the other two. Um, Obviously, it's losing the ratings battle to AEW at the moment quite badly. Is NXT, and also they have teased matches with Charlotte and uh, people like I forgot her name. What's her name?
Bianca Belair.
Bianca Belair, that's the one. Yeah, they've teased matches with those two, or even those three. In fact, this match was rumored to potentially be between those three. Um, they've also highlighted as well that it's Charlotte Flair, and like she has a habit of just winning like Asuka shouldn't need to beat Asuka. She shouldn't have beaten Asuka, but she did because it's Charlotte Flair and the company love her. Don't get me wrong, I love Charlotte Flair, but she didn't need to win that match. And there's a whole lot of reasons that when you read them, you're like, actually, it wouldn't surprise me if Charlotte wins this one. I don't want it to happen, which is half the reason I've gone for Rhea Ripley. I think Ripley needs the win more than Charlotte does. But I know I'm going with Ripley for it, but I'm prepared to be upset with this one, I think.
I'm going Ripley as well. I think that yeah, I've read all those things, and I don't see Charlotte willing to step down to NXT full time, and I don't think Triple H would want to run NXT with a part time women's champion, especially because that would be so detrimental to their women's division, which is actually really strong. I think Ripley wins and stays uh, there. Yeah, I just don't, especially because of the ratings battle. I don't see them going with a part time champion for one of their champions. And Charlotte's not going to move over if she's getting married to Andrade. I don't think he'll be coming back at any point because he's actually getting a bit of traction now on the main roster. It should be Ripley, and also Charlotte seemed to have the upper hand a lot in this feud, so I think that works perfectly in terms of Ripley then kind of coming back and winning on the night.
But yeah, the other thing as well that I read, I totally agree. I said I want Ripley to win, but like the other thing as well is Charlotte. It was the same thing with Asuka as well. Charlotte's one of those people that should be almost is always around the title picture. Like if she's not competing for a title, then she's injured or something like that. Like so, I think she's not going to be around the Raw one for a while because that's going to be Becky Lynch, Baszler, maybe Ronda Rousey as well. She's not going to be around the SmackDown one because that'll be Sasha Banks and Bailey and possibly Naomi in there as well. And I can't really see her doing tag. So this is the only real title for her to sniff around. But yeah, I think Rhea Ripley should win. But I don't know. There's a part of me that is quite scared that she won't. Like she should win and needs to win, but it's Vince McMahon at the end of the day. And yeah, I just don't know this. I think Ripley wins, but I don't know. This is a harder one that perhaps should be, I think.
I've just seen, so we've only got 2 matches left, and you're still to use your lock in. So, are you using it in this next match?
What, Goldberg?
Yeah.
No, I was actually gonna save it for my big man Drew. I think this
Okay,
I
makes
was gonna
sense.
save
Yeah.
it for Drew. I've already kind of
Well,
spoiled it now, but that's my pick. I get to pick first on the
okay,
Drew one anyway.
let's go for that. Yeah, you get to pick first that one anyway. So if we skip down, so you're gonna
I'm
lock
gonna
in
go
on
for,
Drew
I'm gonna go
McIntyre.
Drew. I think partly because obviously the Street Profits have now gone. But also, there's history with me and Drew. Me predicting Drew to win the Royal Rumble when no one else did at our table in the pub is the reason I decided this podcast needed to return. I also think they've booked this perfectly for Drew to win. I think every sort of build up they've done with we've built it perfectly. They've not sort of made it. They made him very credible, but equally made Brock Lesnar still dangerous. Brock Lesnar really likes him from reports. Like he gave him a lot of the ideas for things he said and done in the build up to it. And I think it is time for a new champion. Drew McIntyre, I think this is his moment. They've highlighted so many points over the years where like how long he's been in the company and never had a title opportunity. Finally gets a WrestleMania moment and stuff. I think it has to be Drew McIntyre. There's like if it's not, obviously there is no crowd there to get angry, but people will be livid. Because it's not like when Reigns faced Lesnar, where obviously everyone was like, for God's sake, this is happening again. Everyone actually wants this match to happen and they want McIntyre to win. So I think it has to be Drew.
I'm stuck with Lesnar as my choice, but I guess the only saving grace I've got is do they A want to save Drew's WrestleMania moment for when there's a crowd to celebrate with, and B, yeah, we were both. I mean, we were at WrestleMania 34 when everyone thought Roman Reigns was going to beat Brock Lesnar because everyone was thinking Brock Lesnar was leaving the company, and boom, they swerved it. But
There is actually one stat that doesn't go in my favour, but I'll try and find it for you while you carry on with your point.
yeah, I was going to say, like as you said, that Lesnar does like him. You can just tell that in the way he's selling for him as well. And I think Lesnar wouldn't be doing that if he was then going to win. I think he kind of approves that he'll be giving the belt to Drew McIntyre, and he's quite happy to make it as good as possible, and he wants to build it up. So that's why he's happy to sell more and give him ideas and stuff. So yeah, it's good. It's been a good build. I think I think it's been perfectly worked. I think Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar have done a great job in helping build Drew McIntyre as well, because he's had weird matches with people like Eric Rowan and MVP that doesn't really make him look that good in terms of like you know, when you beat them, you're not like, oh, there's a guy who's going to then go on and beat Brock Lesnar, but they've done a good enough job of making him more of a threat. And yeah, I think I agree with you that Drew's going to win, but I've got to back Lesnar now. So
I think there's that. So here's the interesting stat. It could be complete and utter coincidence, but the fact it's now gone on for as long as it has is very interesting. So I found this list earlier on Bleacher Report of every Royal Rumble winner since 2010 and whether they successfully used their title shot to win a title for the win a championship. And if you go down the list, it includes women's one as well. It's no, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. So it's Edge and Del Rio didn't win. Sheamus and Cena did. Batista and Reigns didn't. Triple H technically won it during the Royal Rumble match, not at Mania. And then Randy Orton won. Nakamura and Asuka didn't win. And then Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins did. So that's been a trend since 2010 that they have done. Um, but this time, I think it has. Another reason as well, I've read somewhere else, which takes us quite nicely onto the next match, is with Goldberg no longer facing Reigns. And if they do decide to carry on with programming for a while, did he have Brock Lesnar Goldberg again? Maybe. I don't know. But that takes us on to our next match with Goldberg. Goldberg versus Braun Strowman, although it's yet to have been officially announced. That is the match everyone is saying has happened. I think it's actually even been recorded, so that is definitely the match that is happening. But Goldberg versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title, and it is your pick for who you think wins.
I'm going here with who I want to win instead of who I think will win. And I'm going to pick Braun Strowman.
Interesting.
I think you're going to pick Goldberg as well. And again, I want some
I don't
different
want
predictions.
Goldberg to win.
That's it for me. I read this somewhere earlier. I think Braun Strowman has had 6 title matches that he's lost, all of them. Um, yeah, don't get me wrong. This was never the plan. He wasn't supposed to be in this match. However, up until a month ago, apparently Goldberg versus Reigns wasn't the plan. Goldberg was just supposed to lose in Saudi Arabia, and that was that. Um, it, yeah, it was always because everyone was saying it was going to be the Fiend versus Goldberg, weren't they? But yeah, the plans change, and you know what? I think WWE are capable of putting the belt on Strowman here. It's a good time to get away with it. You could still have Reigns eventually come back and take the title off Strowman, and then set up a Goldberg match later on down the line. I just don't think if you haven't booked Goldberg to carry on post Mania, you've then got to convince him to cut. I know he's part time anyway, but they kind of need to move away from this part timeness, and they're going to do that on Raw if McIntyre wins. So on SmackDown, they need to do the same. And I don't think they want to have to hold off Goldberg until SummerSlam, which then might get cancelled in itself, and you've still got Goldberg just holding onto this belt. I'll go with Strowman, maybe
Yeah,
because I want it to happen, but
yeah. Do you know? Another thing as well is the sheer mechanics of Goldberg lifting Braun Strowman for a jackhammer. I just can't see. Like you saw how bad it was against the Fiend. How bad he was able to. He barely managed to lift him to do a jackhammer, and now he's got to do it to Braun Strowman, who is. Like, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be a pretty match. This one, I don't think. Um, I find it quite difficult because I think it's the perfect time to actually put the title on Braun Strowman because there's no harm in it because they could very feasibly have a clean slate. That he could just come back as the champion and then feud with literally anyone. Um, but equally, I can also see this being like Goldberg spears him a couple of times and then Jack hammers him and it's over. Like you saw Brock Lesnar absolutely squash Braun Strowman. you've seen it happen before. Um, this is quite a difficult one for me. Like, I really want Braun Strowman to win, like, so badly. Um, but I think I've not predicted too many swerves in this one, apart from maybe Randy Orton winning, is if you can see that as a swerve. So I might have to agree with you here and see because they're gonna have to do something to get people talking about it. 'Cause otherwise, it'll always be remembered as the WrestleMania with no crowd and a couple of weird gimmicky matches. So they need to have a couple of results in there where you're like, "Oh shit, I did not see that coming," and I think this could be one of them. And it's I say feel good moment for the crowd. Like for us watching at home, it gets you a bit more like, oh sweet, like I'm glad they actually went ahead with this now because Braun Strowman is the champion and stuff like that. And I think it means people will be not that they ever listen to Twitter ever, but people on social media and stuff will be if Braun Strowman gets hammered in like 3 minutes, everyone's just going to be like, for God's sake. And also, I can see this match and I could possibly see this match and the Brock Lesnar match closing the respective nights.
Yeah, I imagine they will.
But I don't know. I think they want to end both nights. They want to end both nights with the big triumphant face. I think because that's what WrestleMania is all about normally. Normally. So I'm gonna go. I agree with you here with Braun Strowman.
Oh, I really thought you were going to go Goldberg.
No, I don't I can't see Goldberg wanting to hang around. That's the thing. I can't.
Yeah, and also surely he's a health risk.
'Cause also yeah, like 'cause also, like, Roman Reigns as well, if it carries on this whole thing carries on till SummerSlam, and if they do SummerSlam behind closed doors, Reigns once again won't wanna do it for obvious reasons, and I totally understand that. So as you said, you could end up possibly seeing Goldberg have the title till, like, August, September time, which no one wants. I don't think Goldberg even wants it, like, he was pretty furious in his last run by the end of it, he was a bit fed up. Um and so I think this is the time this is a time where you can experiment with stuff and get away with it. Because like I said, if it again it all goes horribly wrong, you could literally just have next event whoever anyone beats Braun Strowman, and it doesn't matter. Like Braun Strowman needs to have a title. I think he can't take another loss. Meanwhile, Goldberg can.
Yeah,
So
100%.
Braun Strowman for
Goldberg
me.
was going to take the loss anyway. He was going to lose to
Yeah,
Reigns, so
exactly.
for him it's
So
no different. So, but yeah, there is obviously also the case of our wildcard prediction. So this pay per view, it's my turn to come up with one. As the champion, I'll let you obviously pick your answer first.
it's a
So
hard
for this
one.
one, I've come up with an interesting one. I would like a prediction for the combined number of German suplexes by Brock Lesnar, claymores by Drew McIntyre, and spears by Goldberg.
So I'm gonna say there's gonna be 3 spears by Goldberg. I'm gonna say 3. That's the same that he did on the Fiend. Um, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say 3, 4 clay. No, um, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say 4 claymores. 4 claymores. Just thinking of it took about 3 stomps to beat Lesnar. I think there'll be like 1 claymore at the very beginning, like straight away, and then there'll just be like 3 or so to win it. So 4 claymores and 3 spears. That's 7. And then I'm gonna say, how many German suplexes? I'm gonna say 6 German suplexes, so 13 altogether.
Oh, annoyingly, you're close to my number, but completely different predictions. So I was going to say, I think there's going to be 5 spears.
5. You think Braun Strowman's gonna win after taking 5 spears?
It's the only move Goldberg's got.
It's true. 5, yeah, fair. I mean, the Fiend took 3 in a jackhammer, so okay.
But he can't jackhammer him, so he has to just
Yeah.
keep spearing him. So I say 5 spears. I think 4 claymores. because he hit 3 on him that time at Raw, so it's kind of poetic that the fourth is the one that drops him. So that put me to 9, and then I was going to say 3 German suplexes.
Only 3?
I think it would be quite, yeah, but also it gives me leeway with the spear. So do you know what? I'm going to say 12 because now
Ah.
it's whoever's closest.
Yeah, no, it needs to be
So
okay.
anything under 12, I've won, and anything over
Like, 'cause the
12,
thing is that
you
I
win.
can see any of these as being, like, completely ridiculous. Like, I can see Brock Lesnar hitting, like, 8 in neat theoretic. I can see Drew McIntyre hitting, like, 5 claymores. I can see, like, 1 spear. It could be anything. Like, it really depends how they decide to book the matches. Like, neither match is gonna be particularly long. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I can see it being like the only thing I can see with the German suplexes that favors you is I can see like Brock Lesnar every now and then in a match just likes to do the whole like I'm gonna take my gloves off and kick the shit out of you thing. And I can see this being one of he did it in the Royal Rumble, didn't he? Uh, so I can see him maybe doing a bit more like ground and pound offense in there, maybe. But yeah, I'm gonna go with my 13. So 12 and 13.
So there we go. Those are our predictions for WrestleMania. But let us know what your predictions are. Feel free to get in touch with us on social media. We are on Twitter at uselessagpod, or individually. I'm at Citadel James.
I'm at Henry Rogers 94, and we will be tweeting over the course of both evenings as well. So feel free to join in our discussions slash possible rants at the way they decide to book matches. And yeah, let us know how you think about WrestleMania is going to go as well.
Yeah, hopefully we're all in for a good show. Obviously, we're still making kind of list specials during this whole lockdown, so keep an eye out for those, or an ear out for those, I guess. And subscribe to the podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're now on Google Play Podcasts. That's a thing. We're
I
on
know that's the thing.
Spotify. They're on
Yeah.
YouTube. So we're on a lot of places. So tell your friends about us and enjoy the show. Thank you for listening.